guys, I want to welcome you and let you know how great it is to have you here for the Greater Purpose Podcast.
What's up? Welcome to the Greater Purpose Podcast from the Cubs room. And then you hear the cheering crowd, right? You hear the cheering crowd? They can hear the cheering crowd. So we've changed a few things. Format is not totally different, but we got a couple of things that are different on here. So we're not going to do everything the way we've done it. So 67 podcasts later, we're making some changes. So we do want to mention, though, that we are on audio. We're on Amazon Music. Blueberry, we're supposed to be on Spotify soon, so just keep checking those, and we'll be putting the links up in the comments, and you'll be able to follow up on some podcasts that you missed. You'll be able to listen to them through audio versus video if you wanted to do that instead. And also, don't forget to go to the-greater-purpose.com to catch up on all the previous 66 podcasts. Amazing. Wow. We appreciate you. We thank you for being here, and I'm going to introduce my guest, and then he's going to introduce himself. Blair Hall, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well.
Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, I'm glad you can make it. So I know who you are, even more than I did before, but I know who you are, so go ahead and tell everybody out there who Blair Hall is.
Well, I'm a local guy from here from Gaston County. I was raised here, live out Crowder's Mountain area, right at the foot of the mountain.
Oh, cool.
So I grew up on that mountain before it was a state park.
Oh, nice. So you probably got lost in those woods.
We were out there before 1970. Yeah, and I went to Chapel Grove Elementary, which is right around the corner from the house. I grew up in Chapel Grove Baptist Church. Went to Hunter House High School, Southwest Middle School. Joined the Marine Corps right out of high school because I knew for a fact that I could not stay here at the way my life was going at that point. So I joined the Marine Corps, went to Paris Island, Cherry Point.
Oh, cool.
Cherry Point, worked on airplanes, and then I spent spent the last year of my Corps in Japan, and I EAS'd out of there. I had met Jill, and we were going to get married, and the Marine Corps wouldn't give me what I wanted. So so
out you went.
And my dad was he had some medical problems, so I wanted to stay on the East Coast, and that kind of didn't work out. But got out, came back, and went to work here at a local company over in Cleveland County, and I said, there's things hadn't changed much, so I was able to apply and get into Appalachian State University.
Oh, wow.
So I got into Appalachian, and Jill and I both went to Appalachian and ended up graduating in 93. At that point,
you're a lot older than I thought you were. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people. And we can get into why into why that happened. But so then I came back here, and I majored in criminal justice and minored in management, and went to work for Marshall Rouse because I had to have a job.
Yeah.
Because we were married and had to have a job.
Yeah. That's an interesting concept these days.
Marshall Rouse was a family friend. My mom had worked for him for quite some time, so he ended up giving me my first real job.
Cool.
I mean, because I had worked ever since I was 14. Here at local restaurants and stuff. I was a cook. I was a dishwasher.
Oh, cool.
Ran a forklift. I've done quite a lot. And I got on with Gaston County Police.
There you go.
Went to rookie school at night. 6 months. I was working full time for Marshall and went to rookie school at night for 6 months. And if any police officer says they went to night school, you shake their hand, tell them thank you, because the night school is 50 times harder than daytime. Yeah. Same stuff, but it's a lot harder on the family life. It's a lot harder on life in general.
Yeah.
So Gaston County Police hired me in 1995, and I worked for them ever since until 2020. Cool. I retired out of there with 25 years of service to Gaston County. When I retired, job opened up at the school system in safety and security, and I took that job and been there going on 5 years now.
This is the man that protects our schools in Gaston County, just so you know.
Well,
I don't protect them. Our teachers protect them.
Our
teachers are the ones who keep our kids safe.
Yeah, but you have the safety plans. And
yes, and I'll give credit where credit is due. I did not build them. Glenn Bratton and Mark Holler were two of the people who put those safety plans together, and they created a good bicycle.
Sure.
And what I've been doing since I got there is I've been tightening the spokes on the wheel.
There you go.
We're tightening down our schools. We're putting plans in place, making, like I said, we're now going from checking 1% of our student population coming into our high schools to going to 100%.
Right.
We've implemented some scanning devices to where every kid's going to go through those. So
you might need, now that's not technically, now we can go down rabbit trails, no problem with that. But we need to get you back in. We've talked about having a podcast where guys come back in and talk about their professions and their ministries
and all of that.
Someday we need to do that.
And all of that kind of stems from my early childhood at Chapel Grove.
Right.
James Lowry was our preacher there when I was growing up. He married me and Jill, and he influenced his attitude and his mentality. He was a big guy, and he was all about taking care of individuals.
Right.
So that was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Hearing him talk about that, so that kind of helped me push me towards the Marine Corps, because my life in high school was not the best in the world.
Yeah. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
His and mine.
Yeah. So that's why we're friends.
That's right. Yeah. We know brothers from another mother, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So, but he was a big influence on me.
So he was your inspiration, which obviously you're sharing with us now, and that was at Chapel Grove. Right, Chapel Grove.
Yeah.
So in that process, I mean, you're doing crazy stuff, but somewhere before the crazy stuff, or somewhere in the midst of the crazy stuff, or somewhere at the end of the crazy stuff, when you realize you had to go in the Marines, you realize, hey, I need to be a better man for God.
Correct.
So where was that approximately, or?
I got saved at an early age at Chapel Grove. My dad was always a big influence in service, and he was really big in the church and in the life of service. And really, I don't know exactly when I felt like I really needed to roll that over. And of course, I'm like everybody else. I'm there, then I slide, then we slide back.
Right.
So it's just something that I've always done in my. Once I decided that I was done with stupidity, which everybody makes mistakes, and I still make them today. Yeah. But when I finally decided that it was more of a life of service.
There you go.
I wanted to be of service to the people in this country.
Yeah.
I wanted to be of service to my local community, and I feel like that was where I was being led to, because I'm promising you, there has been a guardian angel on my shoulder my entire life.
Yeah.
As a Marine, there was always somebody there protecting us. As a police officer, there was multiple incidences where had the opportunity to go meet the Lord, and I call it the finger of God, because He's the one that's pushing bullets away, pushing things out of our way.
Yeah.
Whether it's bullets, whether it's explosives, whether it's any of those things, He's the one that's pushing those and pushing us to go do different things for Him, to kind of represent Him, and those are the kind of things that I feel that my dad and Preacher Lowry kind of instilled in me.
Sure.
It was there, it was always there.
Well, and that's why we discussed that part, because there are some guys where they wake up one day, okay, this is messed up, I'm done with this, I got to be a better man. There are some guys that are saved when they're 7 years old and start preaching when they're 12.
Yeah.
And they've known all along they got to be. Now again, we still make mistakes.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. We'll never be there till we get there.
That's right.
But there are different progressions. So we don't want somebody out there who thinks, well, I was saved at 7 years old. No testimony. You've got a testimony.
Yeah.
We want another guy who's in the midst of something, struggling, knowing he needs to be a better man for God, thinking he's never going to have a testimony, because you will have a testimony if you turn it over to God. So for some guys it's a progression. For some guys it's looking back and going, okay, all these things happen. So that's kind of why we talk about all.
Yeah,
that
it's
stuff.
and it's one of those things that each individual deals with their own way,
Right.
and
Right.
and God's in people's lives differently.
Yep.
You know, and I know for a fact He's in my life because I'm still here.
Amen. Yeah.
I'm still here.
He's protecting me. Yeah.
And especially after March 8th.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that He put me in that place in that time with that doctor in that operating room for a reason.
Yeah.
Because if it had not been for them, I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So Him and them. So He, I believe He pushes people to where they need to be at 100%.
Yep. That's awesome. That's cool. So how do you think that you got Marines, you've got the police department, you've got the school system, you're politically involved. Where do you feel you're most effective in applying what you just said about God being the manipulator of your life? God is controlling your life. God is protecting you. Where do you feel like you best apply that to other men specifically?
Well, anytime I talk to people, I've always felt like that God's, I don't know what God's plan is. And really, I have to figure that out. We have to figure that out now, especially after March 8th, because there's a reason why we're all here.
Yeah.
And anytime I have a chance to talk to people about March 8th and talk about the situation that I went through.
Yeah, well, and you can tell them a little bit about that too. So.
Well, I've got AFib, and so I had 2 cardioversions to fix the AFib. So the next thing to fix that was an ablation. Was a heart ablation.
Right.
Those who don't know anything about that, it's a cardio ablation. They go into your heart. They go up through your arteries into your heart, and they freeze different nerves in your heart to regulate the heartbeat. After the procedure was done, they had finished with me. They had closed me all up and was getting ready to move me to recovery, and I coded.
Wow.
So they did CPR on me for about almost 4 minutes, got me back, and Dr. Shedd eventually told me that it was the only thing he could explain was a delayed vagal nerve response.
Wow.
So that was what it was. But at the same time, if I had been 10 minutes later rolling down the hallway headed to recovery, or I had been in another part of the hospital, who knows what would have happened?
Right.
And I was in the right place at the right time with the right people, and I feel that was God's work. That has to be Him.
Yep.
I would talk about the finger of God, and He kept me there for that reason.
Yeah. And, but anyway, just so they knew about, because you're referring to the March 8th.
Yeah.
So after that, you're talking about building into other men's lives and expressing your testimony, I guess.
When I have the opportunity to talk about it, and I don't really go out pushing that, but when I'm talking to people, I just that's my testimony is that God has been on my shoulder. I might cry here. He's been on my shoulder most of my life.
That's what my executive producer Donald Ward loves it when I cry. I will cry with you.
He has been in my life my whole life. So he's protected me. I know, just like you said, the different situations. There's been ample opportunity.
Yeah.
Ample opportunity, and some of it's from being stupid mistakes, and other things just happen, and for no other reason.
Yeah,
it's I'm here
testifying. Yep.
So that's that. I don't go out to church a lot. I don't really go to church a whole lot. I do go, but I feel that doing what I do by treating people with respect and dignity and treat people like I want somebody to treat my mom, I feel that's God's way of me helping. Yeah. Because I've been serving this country, serving this county for 30 years in a life of service, and it's just I feel that's God's work in me.
Sure, that's your inspiration.
Is serving.
Yeah.
Is serving. So that's what it is. And
I think guys can look at that and say and realize that there are ways that we can apply our experiences differently in our different walks of life and different things that we're doing. So that's pretty cool.
It's one of those things. And, I have to
say,
I
am a crier from way back. I mean, I'm the guy up in the choir that sings the choir and just so you didn't got to worry about crying.
Certain things, certain things will get you.
Absolutely.
So
and the emotion about that, guys, don't be afraid to cry. If you're not a crier, that's fine. If you're not, but being emotional about what you're sharing, especially a man to another man, in my opinion, that's why we have men's conferences. That's why we have the men's breakfast. That's why we do this stuff, because we can express our ways in ways that we may not feel comfortable in a mixed crowd. So I think it's important for us to share our emotions, express them, and let people understand that we are just guys. Just actually, in my opinion, we're just little boys in grown-up bodies.
Most of the time.
Trying to make it day to day in a lot of cases.
What is it? The difference between men and boys is the price of the toys.
Price of the
So
that's about it. So right, exactly, cool.
So
all right, so let's look at the topics that we've talked about.
Right.
So did you have one you wanted to focus in on, or
it's like I already mentioned my dad and Preacher Lowry were two of my dad. I mean, he always start crying. He and I didn't always see eye to eye like most kids, but that man taught me more stuff.
Yeah,
and he was a godly man. He made sure that we were at church every time the door was open. Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday nights, and anytime the door was open. He was really big. So I got a really good foundation in God and in the belief and in all that growing up, and so I've always stuck with that. So he is probably the biggest inspiration in my life when it comes to anything.
Yeah,
because work ethic.
Right.
Dad was disabled, but he would drive us in the ground just to prove that he could outwork us.
Wow.
Yeah, even though he was disabled. So, so and that from treating people properly and doing things for people, all the way up to your work ethic is something that he, because he was a godly man. He was.
And I'm not trashing on today's generations, but the respect and the work ethic thing are two things that you notice lacking a lot of times. Now, having said that, there are some cases where I see it and I hear it and it's really good.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be the exception.
Right.
It should be the rule. And it used to be.
Yep.
Even the guys that were messed up when we were teenagers were still respectful to the adults and the women in our lives and that kind of thing. We didn't disrespect them and that. But anyway, so
that's
that's
and I feel all of that is part of God's plan. And if you do that, because that's what He wants. He wants everybody to treat each other properly.
Yeah.
And of course,
biggest commandment: love each other. Right.
There you go. So it's one of those.
Yeah, cool. So, all right. Anybody else? You got two there. Who else? You want to throw anybody out there?
What
men or women? Yeah.
I was trying to think about that, but when it comes to, and again, school teachers, I had two teachers in high school that really worked to help. Lynn Helms and Miss Hancock were two of my biggest supporters and really helped push me. I had to go to night school in 11th grade, which I think they need to bring that back.
Yeah. Oh, they don't have it.
Well, no, they don't have it now, but they do have a program where they're starting a program this year where kids can, on a cohort, come like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, at different hours of the day to get their college credit.
Yeah, sure.
So Gaston County is doing a lot for our kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So they really pushed me to finish school and to get my life squared away.
Right.
Which I feel that God put them in my life.
Sure, absolutely.
Because there's been so many people that have helped me, but those two really did a good job.
Let me drop something in there because I listen to Dr. Dobson, and all different radio programs and stuff that talk about that kind of stuff, and the impact that teachers, coaches, other leaders have in kids' lives. You don't even know.
Right.
You have no clue. So really important out there if you're in a leadership position, teaching, coaching, Wednesday night Bible study with the kids, whatever you might be doing, whatever you're involved in out there, take it seriously. Pay attention to your kids. You have an influence on them. Maybe a small influence, but you have an influence.
Oh yeah, it's
very impactful.
I have kids that come up to me today. When I was at SRO at Hunter House, kids come up to me today. Officer Hall, how you doing? Yeah. And it's really survived. I'll leave that alone. But kids I took to jail.
Yeah.
Because back then you could take kids to jail at 16, and when they were acting a fool in school, violating the law, they'd go.
Yeah.
And that had a big impact on on school discipline. When they'll ever do that. And our state legislatures have kind of screwed that up with this raise the age. But we'll leave that alone.
We'll
leave that alone.
But that's okay. We can get a little political.
No. It's just
No, I get
it. Look at look at the increase in juvenile crime, look at the increase in juveniles involved in shootings and killings and drug dealing. You can see where the lack of accountability and responsibility is going away. And it really reaches back to the home life,
right?
And then to
just like we were talking about, the respect, the discipline.
If you're not being taught that at home, you're not being taught that at schools,
then
you don't care, and it doesn't matter. So then we end up with what we have.
And in defense of them, just a little bit, if that's how you've been raised, you don't know.
You don't know.
You're not defiantly going against the norms of society. You just don't know what they are.
Right.
So how do you expect somebody who's never been taught the right ways of life to do them?
And if they're not getting it at home, they're not getting it at school, they're not getting it. They're not going to go to church. They're not going to get involved.
I've even had some kids in classes or whatever who I've said something to about respect or about whatever, and they just look at me like they're in the headlights. They've never heard it before. They've never had anybody tell them anything about discipline. So. All right. So who else you got? Anybody specific? Any names you want to throw out there as far as inspirations and stuff like that?
Well, my wife.
Of course.
Always your wife.
Absolutely.
She stood by me for a lot of years, and going. We were regulars at her. She got us into the Methodist Church over in Bessemer City, and that's where we raised our kids at up until they started playing travel sports.
Oh yeah.
So we were there. All the time with those. We raised them there.
Yeah, gotcha.
Looking back on my life, it was just so many people were out there that helped.
Yeah.
I had an uncle who was really big, and an aunt that Jay Dismukes and Maddie Dismukes were really inspirational to Maddie. Maddie always says she wanted to have a preacher or a lawyer. Mm-hmm. So I went into. I'm not a lawyer, but I went into law. I said, "This is as close I can get. This is close I can get.
It's kind of in there.
It's as close I can get for you."
Yeah, right. In the legal system.
In the legal system, yeah.
Right.
So, she was a really.
You're not representing them. You're putting them before the representation, right?
I get the lawyer's work.
Right. Yeah.
I got the lawyer's work. So, but without police, lawyers ain't got no job.
That's right. Exactly right. That's how we keep Travis Page and
a job.
Craig Collins and everybody else in work.
Your police officers out there.
And Chad Hawkins, right? See, Chad, you thank these guys.
Stephen Zeal, the county police. We have the county police, the ones out there enforcing criminal law in the county.
Right.
It takes all.
Yeah, I know it's different tiers here in Gaston County. We have 3 different levels of police. We won't go into that.
We won't go into that. We won't talk about
but that was kind of different.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. Well, you got any others you want to mention, or do you want to throw something? Any heroes of the faith or anything else out there?
Growing up, we Billy Graham. Growing up,
I am going to tell you guys, go back and listen to the podcast. I'm telling you, Billy Graham, man, Billy Graham.
I actually have a cousin that works for his son. Currently works for that company, but was Jill's cousin, not my cousin.
Okay,
Jill's cousin.
Gotcha. Well, and Jim Bailey works out there.
Yeah, Jim works out there. Yes, and he listening to him growing up and his crusades and his things that he did and produced.
Yeah.
That was always influential on a lot of us. And
sure,
he was a big one early on.
Well, and here's the thing too. If you don't know this, on XM Radio, they have a Billy Graham channel you can listen to. And I know it sounds corny. It sounds that's way. But I'm telling you, man, his messages, even from the 50s and 60s,
still the same.
Apply.
Yes, they apply today.
And they're amazing. So. Yeah, and I think, and like I shared before, and I've shared before, I guess on the podcast, I was an atheist until I was 26 when I got saved. But for some reason, Billy Graham I always looked at him with respect. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know what it was all about.
Yeah.
But I always looked at him with respect and always appreciated that there was something about him that was special. And so anyway, eventually I learned what that was. But yeah. So
he was really big.
Yeah. He's been mentioned. I think I would have to say probably 90 to 95% of the time on this podcast.
Well, that tells you how big an influence he is.
Absolutely.
He has been.
That's cool. Yeah, very cool. So you just never know. He didn't realize he was going to touch so many lives the teachers in your life didn't realize how impactful they would be. But we are. That's what we're doing out there. So we're supposed to be doing. Just do your part, and God will do the rest.
And treat people with respect.
Yeah.
Treat them with respect, even if they're not respectful of you.
Yeah.
That's
kind of hard to do sometimes.
It's very hard, and you have to really.
Are you talking to me? No, I'm just
kidding.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's just,
I do that. Yeah,
it's hard. In Christmas time, I'd always put Christmas lights on my cage, in my police car.
Okay,
I'd put Christmas lights in there just so they would get some holiday cheer.
Yeah,
even though they were going to jail.
Back there, yeah.
Even if they went to jail, they were getting some holiday cheer.
Yeah.
I've had people say thank you for taking me to jail.
Yeah.
Thank you for treating me the way you treated me.
Yeah.
And that comes from growing up in that church environment and in that home environment where you're taught respect and love and dignity,
compassion.
Yes.
Yep, makes a difference. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. All right. So that's all the serious stuff. Now, I hope you looked at the bottom of that because you got to give us a sports-related story. But before you do that, you didn't know this, but you get some parting gifts. How about that?
Oh.
Yeah. So first of all, the first parting gift is this wonderful bottle of hand sanitizer.
I work for Gaston County Schools.
Oh, wait. You need a whole case?
I have a case.
Oh, you have a case. Oh, they make you carry it around. But this is the shameless plug for my business. Mr. Bill STEM. We talked about my STEM classes before the podcast. So this is the shameless plug for my STEM classes and my Bill Ward photography. So that's yours.
And he's a good photographer, y'all.
Well, thank you.
I'll tell you.
I appreciate that. You also, and I'm not paying him to say that, by the way. He did that on his own. And you will receive an autographed.
I got to see it.
Who is that?
That's you.
My goofy Chicago Cubs baseball card. We were in the Stanley Parade in 2016 after they won the World Series.
Yeah.
And I did a Chicago Cubs car and had some friends of mine that we dressed up like. Well, I was the goofiest one. But anyway, so it's my official baseball card. I will autograph that and I will number it with this today's podcast, which is number 67. And my producer says, Stephen Wright says it'll be worth as much as it is when you walk out this door.
Correct.
How do you like that? Whatever that means. So
the sad part is that it only gets value once you're no longer
when I die, right? Yeah. So whatever that is, you guys can start selling these cards.
Another 70 years, probably.
Right. Yeah.
You'll be sitting here
probably
going,
not. I don't
you know Joe Biden trying to talk about it.
Yeah. Hey, when I start doing that, guys, you can put that in the comments.
Turn it off.
Say you need to hang it up, or we could get a different host. Right? We could prepare a new host for it. And also you get a Lego superhero figurine, and you say to yourself, why a Lego superhero figurine? Right?
Why?
You said that to yourself.
Yeah,
right?
I did. Why Lego? Why Lego?
There's mine. Mine is iron, though. You can't have that one. So the reason is because, first of all, it's tied to STEM because science, technology, engineering, you have to build it. That's the building part. Okay, so that's why I stop at the E. Somebody corrected me. So what about the M? We don't care about math. We're just talking about engineering, okay?
How many pieces do you have in there?
A lot. More than you can.
There's the math.
You got to count the math. No, I was terrible at math. So the engineering is tied into the STEM classes, but also because we feel like the men who come through here, in God's eyes, are superheroes. So you get to pick a superhero, and we got a new batch in today, so you could pick Dum Dum. What? Dum Dum? You didn't know that was... So I don't remember his real name, but he was the cop on Captain America, or not cop, one of the soldiers on Captain America. And McDonough, the actor, played him in the movie.
Well, I'll pick him just because he's a police officer.
He was exactly. So he was.
Police officer.
If you watch, he wears in the Avengers. Well, it was the first current Captain America movie, and he's the guy with the derby hat that goes in. He's the tough guy. But not Will McDonough. Sean McDonough, I think. Anyway, he's the actor that got kicked out of movies because he wouldn't kiss anybody but his wife in a movie. So he wouldn't kiss other women in movies. But anyway, because that's his Christian.
Well, there you go.
So you picked a good one. Good job. All right. So Now that you have Dum Dum, and I don't know, I can't remember. He has a real name, but for some reason that's his nickname is Dum Dum. We're not saying bad things on here, okay? That's his name. So anyway, so good. All right, so now you got to give us a sports related story. It can be funny, serious, or you got one. I see it.
Is it sports related to me?
It can be you,
or
your kids. It can be the neighbor next door. It can be your dog's best dog show. It could be anything, any kind of sports related story.
Well, back in the day when we had what was it? Pony League.
Yeah,
Pony League.
Yeah,
baseball.
I remember Pony League.
Back in the day we had Pony League baseball. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everything's travel ball now.
Yeah,
everything's
right,
travel ball.
Exactly.
Everything's travel ball.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they got 3 and under. I don't know. But
That's 3 and under.
Yeah, they're out there. Yeah, but running up through there because my kid started in travel ball at first when they could, and then they went over there. Neither one of us playing baseball.
Right.
So
I
told my youngest one, I said, "You're going to pick," and he chose golf.
There you go.
No,
not
you
good.
think that travel baseball is expensive?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But
golf and tennis are 2 of the most expensive.
He's done well. He's a professional. He's working down at Rock Hill Country Club. So
there you go. That's nice. So that did pay off. Yeah.
Well,
it
is, but it ain't.
Okay, right.
But no.
Hey, at least you can always golf.
But no, back in the day, tobacco was always. I mean, we all started chewing.
Yeah.
We were like 9 years old, playing Little League.
Yeah.
Our grandparents were sniffing and snorting.
Yeah. I mean, Granny was.
Granny was
tobacco,
dipping. And then aunt and uncles were chewing, so everybody wanted to be grown up. So
yeah.
We had a pitcher, and we were over in Mount Holly playing a game, and he had a big old chew of tobacco in his mouth after the game.
Right.
And of course, we lost, and had a really, really good coach, but he was stern.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after the game, he starts his, y'all didn't do this, and he looked at, I ain't gonna say the boy's name.
Yeah.
I'm using ain't too much.
Okay. All right. It's a sports story.
Yeah. So he looks over. He kind of looked a lot like that fella right there.
Oh, okay.
That fella right there.
Believe it or not, his name was Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Kind of looked like Mike right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
not the boxer Mike Tyson.
No.
There was a baseball player.
Had the mustache and the long hair back then.
Yeah.
The coach lit into him, and he swallowed that whole big old wad of chewing tobacco.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he swallowed that whole big old wad of chewing tobacco. So, and then after the game, we all went to the Hardee's in Mount Holly. It's downtown.
Right.
It's not Hardee's anymore. It used to be Hardee's down there. We all go in there, and this kid is as green.
I'll bet. I'm sure.
I mean,
that
that's the color green right there. Yeah. And he's laying over there in the chair. And he's gray sick as a dog. So that was
that's one. I have heard of some swallowing their tobacco.
And this was the Levi Garrett leaf chewing tobacco, and so I don't think he ever chewed again after that. But,
so if you guys don't know, most of us when we were little boys, we did stuff like that. We tried the tobacco. We tried
and some of us get hooked on it and stay.
Yeah, that's hard. Well, yeah, sorry, I didn't need it. Gotta quit that stuff.
And some of us quit and then start back.
Well, we don't have to talk about that. Could be a whole nother podcast.
Could be
how to quit
chewing
tobacco.
Quit buying it.
Right.
First thing. Quit buying it. Quit buying it.
Yeah, don't buy it, and then you have to worry about it. Well, that's cool. I love it. That was great. Well, listen, Blair, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming to the podcast. Oh, by the way, I'm not supposed to say this till the end of the podcast. For some reason, an advisor of mine said to subscribe, like, and share, but you don't ask them until you've given them something. So we've given you something to like, subscribe, and share about. So we hope that you'll do that. Any last words?
Well, I know one of the Psalms there that.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. 23:4.
Yeah.
Go walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Yeah. I've done that most of my life, and I can tell you, there is a finger of God out there. Yeah. I have multiple incidents. Oh yes, we had an incident where we had an explosive go off, and every piece of shrapnel from that explosive went the other way.
Wow.
And we were all within the radius, and there is no reason other than the hand of God that we were sitting there still here today.
Yeah.
It was just
kind of convincing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it
so
we might have been too close to it for the first thing, but it just the whole and that's something that I just want people to remember is regardless if you are out there standing on the pulpit, or you're out there, living on the streets, that God is at work in your life, and He's doing things that you do not know.
Pay attention.
He's doing things that you do not know, and I'm sitting here in front of you as a prime example. Yeah. He's been on my shoulder, even though I might not have been out there preaching and screaming His name. He has been on my shoulder my whole life, and I realize that.
Yeah.
And He's working in all of us.
But you're speaking His name in ways that people will respond to. So, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
That's important stuff. That's cool.
And I have enjoyed having the opportunity to sit here and talk with you.
Me too. I appreciate it, Blair. Thank you so much.
Getting to know you a little bit better, and you get to know me a little bit better.
Yeah. So. By the way, so those of you who don't know that part, we do. We talk beforehand usually. Sometimes we sit around and talk a little bit afterwards. So it's a great opportunity. So if you know of someone that would be a great godly man to come be on the Greater Purpose podcast, just give me a holler. Put it in the comments. By the way, you're supposed to make comments while you're liking, subscribing, and sharing. Yeah. I've got to do all that promotional stuff. So, but we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you encouraging us and the guys who come through here. Make sure you share this so people can hear what we've talked about, and maybe something that inspired you out there. So thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. God bless. Have a great day.
God bless.